Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of the TL Capacity Building. I am very happy to have you here. I hope that you liked the first episode. And let's recap a little bit of the objectives of this capacity building. So, the first thing is to understand our core, who we are as an organization, and what is our role as team leaders inside the organization. Then, to get the knowledge and the skills to be the best team leader and also to become experts in the team management um, to be ready for the next semester and for actually performing and manifesting for the winter peak. So in this episode, we're going to have a team standards overview. What does an overview mean? We're going to see it like in a more general way with the whole scenario, the three phases, and then in the next three episodes, we'll tackle the building in one, the performing in one, and the closing in one. Cool? So, just as a reminder, the clarity of who is what we saw in the last episode, and we decided that our main responsibility as a team leader is to actually deliver the team standards because it's the first step in the whole clarity of who, and it's the way that our members are going to be able to go through the whole thing until they develop the leadership qualities. So, what are the team standards? So, first of all, the team standards are minimums that we need to deliver to us to our teams as team leaders. They are divided in three stages: building, performing, and closing. And the objective is to provide a guide on how to be the best team leader to your members. So this is the whole overview of the team standards. So we have three stages: building, performing, and closing. Each one of those stages also has like sub phases. In the case of building, it's team creation, team plan, and individual plan. In the case of performing, results elevation, performance tracking, support system. In the case of closing, team debrief, transition, and individual debrief. So we're going to have, as I told you guys, an episode for each one of the phases in which we're going to analyze not only this sub stage, but also we're going to see inside each one the actions that we need to take. So for instance, in building team creation, we have transition, core competencies, and team rules. But we're not going to go into those in detail now, but in the next episode when we see actually the building phase, okay? So in this one, we're going to see the objective, timeline, and some tips and tricks for each one. So let's start with building. Basically, building, it's literally building your team. So this is the very first thing that you guys have to do, and it's a crucial phase. In experience, like not only in theory, not only what the team standards say, but in experience, literally every single team that had a very strong building phase then has no trouble in going through performing. Like, of course, there's always challenges, but if you do this step right, if you do the building phase right, then your team is guaranteed. So really focus on this part, really put attention on the building phase and give it the importance that it needs. So the objective of the building phase: creating the identity of the team, the rules and the behaviors, the goals for the team for the whole semester, and the members' goal individually, because each member also needs to have a goal, and aligning the strategies and the role of each member. So basically, building everything that the team needs to become a team. What is the timeline? From the moment that members that are allocated on the team and the team is consolidated until the end of the onboarding. So until the end of the 10 days of the new members, first we have the reallocated members. First they select us as team leaders. Then we have the reallocated members. Then they give us the new members and the team is totally consolidated. And in this whole moment, until the end of the onboarding of the new members, we have to do the building. Cool? So don't delay it, don't postpone it. This is very crucial and needs to happen. It's the first thing that needs to happen so that your team works. Some tips and tricks that you can have for the building phase. So you can organize the whole team plan in the first team meeting. So you get your team the first week, you plan the first team meeting, everyone is there, and you can do the whole team plan. So that in just one meeting, you already tackled more than half of the building phase. And you start your team experience actually feeling like a team, because building the team plan and building the team creation, it's going to help you to actually create the whole team and people feel like they are part of something. And do not postpone it for more than 1 week. I know that sometimes it's difficult with the availability of members and etc., but try to prioritize, try to put your members to prioritize also, and actually determine on one day that you can all meet. And then In the part of the individual plan, you're going to be having one-to-ones with your members. We're going to be seeing how to do a one-to-one, what is a one-to-one in more detail later. But my tip also for you guys is to have all your one-to-ones in one day. Also, you tackle all of them in once, and you have a clear agenda and a clear output of it, so that you can do the whole building in just, it doesn't need to be more than 2 days. If it takes you more than 1 week, it's because you're doing something wrong. So this is very important and very crucial. Prioritize this part. Then we go to performing, and basically the objective, of course, is to perform, to give results. So the performing phase has results elevation, performance tracking, and support system. What is the objective of this phase? To allow the team to reach a level of performance, to have clarity of the goals and the milestones that are going to get us to these goals through the team experience, and to provide the support to the team members. So what is the timeline? From the moment that the onboarding ends, and of course the building ends, as we said before, until the very beginning of the last month. And that's when the closing experience starts. So basically what we're saying is that the performing phase is your whole team experience. So basically you have to be performing during the whole team experience. Cool? So this is something that we need to be working for. What are some tips and tricks for the performing phase? Creating a routine with your team. That this is something that you can establish in the building phase. During the first team meeting, you establish the routine, and then you become very strict and constant in these routines. So this is very important, not only for the team meetings, but also for the working times. So try to create a routine, establish it in the very first meeting with your team. Okay, what is the day and the time that weekly we're going to sit as a team and work? And also, what is the day and the time that we're going to have our team meetings? Cool. So this is very important. Be very constant, and no one will lose any meetings. Create a clear and visual scoreboard, and always keep the goal up front. What do we mean with this? A scoreboard is like when you're watching like the goals in a football match, like the scores, the scoreboard there. So the idea is to always have visually and in front of your members how we are doing with the goals. So they need to know how many we planned, how many we do, how many we did, and what's the percentage of accomplishment. And how can we do this? We can have a tracking tool. We can have like an Excel sheet with this in a very visual way. And also, like if you have a WhatsApp group, which you should, with your team, you can put in the topic, in the title of the group, you can put, for instance, 0 out of 10 approvals planned. And then each time that someone does an approval, you change the score in the title, which is going to create a lot of hype with your members, and everyone will want to change the scoreboard, of course. And always keep the goal up front. Always remind them. Every single team meeting, you talk about the team goal. Every single one-to-one, you talk about the members' goals. We need to strive for each member accomplishing their goal, because if our members accomplish their goals, then the team accomplishes their goals. And if the team accomplishes their goals, the entity does. Then always recognize in public and feedback in private. This is my last tip, because there's also feedback in the support system part of performing. And this is something that I think it can be useful for you guys. When a member is doing something right or they had results, always recognize them in public, cheer for them, do recognitions. But then if you have a feedback, a constructive one, you can go and do it in private. Do not do it in public, so that this person can actually feel like they have their space. So that was for performing. Now for closing, we have of course, the closing of the team experience, as the title says. So we have team debrief, transition, and individual debrief as part of this phase. What is the objective of the phase? To provide the closure to the team and individual experience, to assess the results and the learnings, and to actually transition and prepare for the next experience. So it's basically closing the team and seeing what worked, what didn't, and what was accomplished. When we do this, the last month of the experience, and what are the tips and tricks that I can give you guys for the closing one, is bring back the initial team goals and individual plans. This is a really cool thing. So in the building phase, you're going to establish the team purpose, the identity, the values, the behaviors, a lot of things. So why not bringing all of this back when you do the closing? So one idea I can give you, for instance, is I had a flip chart with the identity of the team and the purpose and the goal of the team from the very first team meeting. And then in a closing experience, I took the flip chart with me. I kept it through the whole team experience, and I took it with me to the last meeting, and we took a picture, like the initial picture and then the last picture comparison. It was really cool. That's one tip that I can give you. Another tip to ensure a proper transition and information sustainability. You are the ones who understood what worked and didn't in the team. So if you do not transition this information, the next team will start from scratch, and we don't want this. And lastly, encourage your member to analyze their progress, evolution, and points of improvement all the time, but especially in the closing phase. At the end, in the individual debrief, make them think of actually what they accomplished. So in the timeline of the team standards, you can see that first we have the building, then the performing, and then the closing. And the building is exactly in the onboarding part. And then we have the performing, and right before the whole process ends, we have the closing. So this is just so that you have a more clear timeline. And in a checklist, a brief checklist of what to do for this episode, set a clear timeline for delivering the team standards of your team, and then just ensure the building phase, the performing phase, and the closing phase of your team. So it's very simple, this checklist. You have the team standards booklet also provided by ISEC International that you can check if you want more information. And guys, that was all for this episode. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can approach me. See you in the next one.